On the Doge refund check, if President Trump asked you, is that a good idea to send checks to Americans, the equivalent of stimulus checks, refund checks, dividend, whatever you want to call them, you would tell him yes, no, what?
Oh, sure. It's a great idea.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell just made a jaw-dropping confession, guys, and this should send chills down every American spine. Don't expect any relief from inflation in 2025. Not a little progress, zero. And their excuse, Trump's tariffs. That's right, guys. Rather than taking ownership, the Fed is now shifting the blame to President Trump's tariffs, saying that it's the reason that your grocery bill, your gas pump, or your everyday expenses are going to be staying painfully high for another year.
April 2nd is going to be Liberation Day for America. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We've been ripped off on trade. We've been ripped off on military. We protect people and they don't do anything for us. It's just so unfair for years and years.
We have breaking news coming out of the US. President Donald Trump says he's ordered the military to launch what he calls a decisive and powerful operation against the Houthis in Yemen. US media report the military is carrying out large-scale strikes against dozens of targets, including the capital Sana'a.
President Donald Trump sends a direct message to terrorists by blasting them with airstrikes. That's pretty direct. Former President Joe Biden gets exposed for destroying Kamala Harris's presidential run. One of President Trump's top counselors calls out the previous administration for making fools out of all of us. And CNN gets a rude awakening as one of their own guests calls them out for lying to the American people. Now, I've got some shocking news today, starting with the airstrikes that hit Yemen recently. Watch this.
To all Houthi terrorists, your time is up and your attacks must stop. Starting today, if they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before. Joe Biden's response was pathetically weak, so the unrestrained Houthis just kept going, funded by Iran. The Houthi thugs have fired missiles at U.S. aircraft and targeted our troops and allies. These relentless assaults have cost the U.S. and the world economy many billions of dollars, while at the same time putting innocent lives at risk.
And as you spoke to somebody earlier in the previous hour, Joey, this is not just about American interests. This is about global shipping interests throughout the Middle East. And when you have terrorists targeting merchant ships going through the Suez Canal, somebody has to keep those shipping lanes open.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne, we had the guest on earlier, General Spalding, and I asked him, so listen, the Marine Corps, this was their first thing they did. They got on merchant ships before they got on Navy ships. It's always been the president's charge to protect our interests abroad. I saw Justin Amash was tweeting last night that it's unconstitutional. Listen, it's not unconstitutional for the United States president to use our military to protect our interests abroad. These are our ships. This isn't just involving ourselves in the Israeli-Hamas war. This is protecting U.S. assets in the region necessary for our economy to survive in a time when our economic future is being decided, I guess.
Right now, we're hearing more than 30 people have been taken out by these strikes. The Houthis have already said that their forces would respond to these attacks, alleging that both the U.S. and the UK have shown wicked aggression toward residential areas in the capital of Yemen. President Trump doubled down by saying that the U.S. will use overwhelming lethal force until we have achieved our objective. Now, it looks abundantly clear that the president is more than determined to protect our assets and our troops, wherever they are in the world. And while President Trump makes good on his word, we're now seeing more of the tricks that former President Joe Biden did while he was in office. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys caught that the president was using a fake set of the White House, right? With left-leaning outlets like Reuters coming to his defense. They even released an entire article that fact-checked this right-wing conspiracy. It's funny how everything's a conspiracy until it actually gets blown wide open and proven to be true, right? But you know what else was a right-wing conspiracy? The fact that the former president would somehow freeze when in public. Something that then White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre called as cheap fakes, suggesting that these videos were all made with AI of some sort. Now, Fox News, on the other hand, they didn't give in to the lies. In fact, they exposed the former president a few years ago for using a fake set. Watch.
The president has been using a fake White House set for some of his speeches. Why is he doing that?
So he can read the prompter without people seeing the prompter. Former President Trump's senior advisor, Stephen Miller, says this. It allows him to read a script directly from a face-on monitor and without teleprompter glass that can be seen on camera. The set also has fake windows, fake flowers just right across the street from the White House. Look, if former President Trump was called the reality show president, Biden's got to be the delusional president. I mean, a set with fake windows right across the street from the White House.
Urgent warning, guys. The job market is collapsing. The economy is shrinking fast. Layoffs are skyrocketing. The Trump tariffs are already shaking industries. The media won't tell you this, but most high-paying jobs, they're disappearing. And the ones that do remain, they're soon going to be out of reach. But here's the good news, guys. I've put together a list of 30 plus jobs that pay around $100,000 per year without a degree. These are recession-proof jobs, and some are even set to explode in demand thanks to this economic shakeup. No college degree required, no student debt, just real jobs that pay. But I promise, guys, this list is not going to be available forever. So get it right now. Get it before these jobs are flooded by the competition. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link down below so you can get your free list of the 30 plus jobs that pay over $100,000 without a college degree. So download this list before it's too late. Now, I understand we're getting two sides of the coin here, with one alleging that the other is lying. But here's Alina Habba finally confirming the truth as she took us right behind the scenes.
You guys, I just finished a show. Look at the room that they put me in. We're in Biden's fake Oval Office, everybody. And I've actually figured this out. I now know why. I now get it. Turn the camera around. There is a screen, teleprompter to the face. All I can say is the last administration was a disgrace.
Not only did the former president have a fake White House, it looks as if his signatures were fake too. Two former White House sources claim that a former Biden aide exceeded their authority, using the Autopen to sign official documents and making those decisions unilaterally. So you're telling me that we had a Biden staffer as our president for the last 4 years? Because these insiders are telling us that it's not clear if all of these signatures had the go signal from Joe Biden himself. Here's what President Trump had to say about that.
The man was grossly incompetent. All you have to do is take a look at he signs by Autopen. Who was signing all this stuff by Autopen? Who would think you signed important documents by Autopen? You know, these are major documents you're signing. You're proud to sign them. You have your signature on something. In 300 years, they say, oh, look, can you imagine? Everything was signed by Autopen, almost everything.
My question here is, would it deem his preemptive pardons null and void at this point? What about his many executive orders? Because we don't even know if he himself signed those or was it auto-penned as well. Now, if you're asking what he was involved in, it said that he was greatly involved with former Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential run. We heard rumors and we saw for ourselves how Joe was seemingly getting in the way of Kamala Harris, even throwing Kamala Harris under the bus when it came to unpopular policies. And it's now been revealed that he did it on purpose. Watch.
Kamala Harris was supposed to be the Democrats' savior, but her campaign fell apart. Here's one reason why. Joe Biden sabotaged her. A new book says Joe wouldn't let Kamala run her own campaign. Her campaign was staffed by his aides who sought to defend his presidency at any cost. And the day of the debate with Trump, Biden gave Kamala a call. It was an unusual kind of pep talk and another reminder about the loyalty he demanded. No longer able to defend his own record, he expected Harris to protect his legacy. Whether she won or lost the election, he thought she would only harm him publicly by distancing herself from him. He needed just 3 words to convey how much all of that mattered to him. No daylight, kid. Kamala needed a firm message. But after flopping an interview sitting next to little Timmy, her team decided all she needed was a firm chair. Quote, for the rest of the campaign, her team required that she be provided a chair that met certain specifications. Leg height, no less than 15 inches. Floor to top of seat height, no less than 18.9 inches. Wow. Arms on chairs may not be very high. Arms must fall flat at a natural height. Chairs must be firm.
Now, I'm going to have to confirm all of this, but it sure does sound like Joe Biden wasn't too happy about Kamala Harris getting the whole spotlight thing going on. So I guess those rumors of him not giving way voluntarily now does hold some weight. It's also very clear to us that the previous administration had a lot of help when it comes to lying to us about what was really happening behind closed doors. One network who worked hard for the Biden administration was CNN. And with viewership down, the news outlet continues to spiral as their own guests are calling them out live on air. Here's Deputy Assistant to the President Sebastian Gorka destroying Jake Tapper on his own show.
So last month, the Washington Post reported that the freeze on U.S. foreign assistance in Africa has, quote, threatened programs intended to counter al-Shabaab bomb makers, contain the spread of al-Qaeda across West Africa, and secure Islamic State prisoners in the Middle East, according to U.S. officials and aid workers, unquote. Are those cuts still in place? Are you concerned about them at all?
Is that the same Washington Post that propagated the Russia collusion hoax for the last 8 years?
Well, regardless of the Russia...
No, not regardless. You're quoting the Washington Post to me, which is as effective as posting for me or quoting to me any other pillar of the fake news industrial complex. I really couldn't care less what the Washington Post or the New York Times says, especially when it's anonymous government officials. If it's true, put your name to it. If it's not, shut up.
At exactly what number or something is something that we negotiate with Congress. But remember, what happens is they appropriate money and then we spend it on really silly things. And then we say, hey, we're really not going to spend it. And so then they can rescind the money. And they can take some of the money and they can use it to reduce the deficit. They can take some of the money to put it in people's accounts, to return it as a tax cut. Those are all things that will be on the table.
Doge stimulus check creator confirms that the checks are coming soon, guys. Now, he also clarifies the eligibility of those who receive Social Security benefits. James Fishback, he's the creator behind the proposal to provide $5,000 Doge dividend checks to Americans. And he has just confirmed that he's already discussing how they can proceed, citing that he's already in talks with several lawmakers who are optimistic about a formal bill being introduced very soon. So here's Mr. Fishback on Dr. Phil's podcast talking about these Doge stimulus checks. Watch.
We have an administration that is very much anti-regulation, pulling back fiscal spending and so on. And so the last point I would make on this is that it's not new to send folks a refund check. In fact, we do it every year. It's called the tax refund season. And just last year, we sent 100 million Americans a check of about $3,100 on average, and there was no spike in inflation. So I would say that, when you look at polling data on this, 70% of Americans say they would use a check like this to pay down debt. Paying down debt is not paying down a four-wheeler or going out and buying a new flat screen TV. It is shoring up your family's finances after 4 difficult years. And that's exactly what I trust Americans will do. And I trust them to be better stewards of that 20% than Washington.
In an interview with Newsweek, James Fishback also had this to say. I have ongoing discussions with folks in the administration, and I've had ongoing discussions with folks on the Hill. I spoke with 6 U.S. senators this past week and continued those conversations to get feedback, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. The next step is there's going to be a bill, and the bill's coming very soon. Now, this is something that has the full support of President Donald Trump, although Doge will have to find even more cuts in order to be able to provide $5,000 stimulus checks. But as we're seeing right now, there's a lot of places where savings can be made, especially as investigations are showing that a lot of federal workers don't even show up for their jobs.
One of the things that we discovered pretty quickly was there was about 2,900 people that were supposed to work in the building. Turns out only 49 were showing up full time on a 5-day.
No, slow it down. 2,900 people. How many showed up?
On average, the highest that we saw on a 5-day work week was 49 people. And this would be at Fannie Mae. And Freddie Mac has a similar problem. We're going to fix it. President Trump hired a businessman to do this, and we're going to fix it for him.
James Fishback also asked about these stimulus checks and if those on Social Security will be receiving them, responding that these checks will be sent per household, which means that the proposal would definitely have checks sent to those who are receiving Social Security benefits. He also added this: if you file a federal income tax return, if you pay federal income tax, which is to say that you worked, you would receive a Doge dividend check. That individual and their household would benefit from this payment. Now, moving on, guys, the hosts of The View are now fighting with each other as the Democratic Party crumbles. It's now gotten to a point where they're visibly tearing each other down with their own narrative. And this comes after they had Senator Chuck Schumer on their show, a guy who most Democrats believe sold out their party.
Well, they're not listening to the rules anyway. Well, you're giving them a shutdown, which legally allows them to do exactly what they're doing right now.
And they're going to do it anyway.
Veterans would be harmed. They wouldn't get their VA
They're already
benefits.
being harmed. No one is fighting for the American people, and it's feckless and it's
Shutting down
weak.
the government is not fighting for the
Give it
American
a
people.
minute.
It costs the
Give it a
economy
minute.
billions of dollars.
This man
people
has
don't get their
destroyed
benefits.
so much in 1 month. Give it a minute. I think that
Give them more time to shut stuff down.
No, I think that the Democrats are going to pull themselves
But
together now.
as we
I do
speak,
believe
the
it.
courts
I don't
actually
agree.
stated that
every day there's some atrocity going on. Every
courts-
day I wake up. What did he do today?
The courts just ruled that more than 20,000 federal workers have to be reinstated because what Doge did was not lawful.
So listen, be careful because this is what they want. They want this fighting.
Infighting.
They want this infighting. What's happening now, Democrats don't have what they need to get what they want done. So again, people have to get out and you have to march. You have to start making noise.
That's right.
This is now coming back to us. The only way people are going to hear how angry you are is if you get out there.
But at least there's some self-awareness here that they're now turning on each other. And notice that Whoopi Goldberg called for protests while completely ignoring the fact that Elon Musk's company has been attacked multiple times. In fact, these protesters are literally burning down cars. But instead of toning down their rhetoric, Whoopi Goldberg and these hosts are doubling down. The fact is that many Democrats seem to be in favor of these violent protests because they want this nation to be divided. And even with all of the work that Elon Musk has provided, it just doesn't make him a good person. I don't know what's wrong with these people. That is, if you're looking at him with liberal eyes. And I want you guys to notice how Scott Jennings' co-hosts on CNN react to him as he slams them with the truth. Watch.
No violence in our political system is acceptable. But this right here, what's going on with a guy who helps our country, who runs successful companies, who doesn't have to be doing this, and now one of his companies is under systematic terroristic threat and violence all over the country, and people seem to be laughing about it or fine with it. It's outrageous. I've sat at this table and had people say, we should cut Elon Musk from the government totally. He rescued our astronauts today. Is that what we want? The treatment of this guy is outrageous. These people who are doing this need to be found, put in jail, and made an example of. That's my point.
Anyone who commits violence against Tesla or Congress or anyone else should be put in jail, 1,000%. But that should not stifle dissent or opposition from Elon Musk.
Give it a little lip service. Give it a little both sides. Go ahead.
We're still both sides here. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to say that people are legitimately upset. They're legitimately upset at Elon Musk, and they're doing it on their own, but there is no reason to have violence in the country. But I just wish all of us would support criticism of, or would support punishing people who are violent wherever they are.
For what I
and not
understand, the
letting them
Teslas
out
will
of jail.
fall apart if you just leave them alone anyway.
Yeah.
There's nothing really anybody really needs to do about it. Just drive them enough. Eventually, the things will start to just like.
I do think.
fall off the side, from what I've read.
Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. But this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I'm now at a point where, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people, be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now. Democrats continue to prove that they are the party of insanity and hate. Because why is it only Scott Jennings who's the one that's completely bothered by these attacks? And sure, you know, they're giving us lip service by saying that these people should be put in jail. Sure. But then the very next second, they're trying to justify the violence by saying that they're legitimately upset. This is like a mirror image of what happened with President Trump last year. Instead of condoning violence after he was almost killed, some Democrats try to justify it. Some said it was only a matter of time until someone tried to shoot at him. And this is the Democratic narrative that we've heard for so long now, which will probably lead to decades of the party losing multiple elections. And guys, if that wasn't bad enough, we've now got to look at Governor Tim Walz back on the air. Now, I'm not sure why he's even out here talking about Tesla, but it's astonishing to see how clueless they are about the reality of the world. So here's Tim Walz laughing at the dropping of Tesla prices. Actually, it might be a good opportunity to buy some stocks. This is not stock advice, though.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So... And if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know, and take out, just telling you.
He can say that they don't blame the people for buying a Tesla, although he should probably tell that to the countless number of vandals that are keying Teslas across the country. Now, the replies to Tim Walz's post on X, it says it all. One user, hating American companies is what the governor of Minnesota loves. Another one read, you are a disgrace. I worked at Tesla for over 4 years. I know many who still work there. Tesla is one of America's crown jewels, and you actively want it to fail. You should be ashamed of yourself. You don't deserve to be anywhere near public service, which means Tim Walz is actively going against what Americans want, wishing for Tesla stocks to tank. Really? Most people have Tesla stocks in their 401k portfolio. So you want to ruin Americans' ability to retire across America? What a complete idiot. And this is the kind of cluelessness within the Democratic Party that's dragging them down. It's also very clear that Tim Walz supports the destruction of these vehicles because that's putting a lot of pressure on these stock prices.
But we're also hearing it goes further than this. Reports of a potential doxing site existing that names and shames Tesla car owners. Is that credible? Do we have any more info on that?
Yeah, this is just starting to emerge, these reports that there's a website that's allegedly purporting to post the personal information of Tesla owners, names, addresses with a Molotov cocktail cursor feature over where these people live. So a potential doxing and harassing behavior there. And according to one report, that information can be taken down if the Tesla owner provides proof that he or she has actually sold the vehicles.
Now, we've yet to hear top Democrats condone these types of actions. I guess they're still enjoying it since this is a petty win for them. So here's my question. Would they respond the same way if this happened to a guy like, I don't know, Mark Cuban? Now, I want to redirect you guys to a recent live stream I did where I covered Cash Money Fannie Willis. The Fulton County DA is now said to owe thousands of dollars as a judge ruled against her. Guys, make sure you guys check that out. As always, appreciate your time. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you next time.